I'm one of the organizing team of this wonderful event. You will see the rest of our organizing team wearing these bright yellow shirts. When you see them in the crowd, please thank them for all their hard work. This was not, as you can imagine, an overnight success. It took a lot of work from everyone, and we're so happy to have shared it with you. So we've got a few very exciting speakers to help us celebrate our South Whidbey Pride. But before we start, I'd like to do a land acknowledgement, which we find it very important to do for all events. We make our home here on Whidbey Island on occupied lands. We share our respect for the long arc of history on what we colonial know as Whidbey Island, Chakolche in its original Latchutseed language. We honor the speakers of Latchutseed and members of the Suquamish, Snohomish, Swinomish, and Lower Skagit tribes, and more tribes whose ancestors loved and cared for this land and these shared waterways long before European settlement began. We celebrate the ongoing vitality of Native communities, including the Swinomish and the Tulalip, and the wisdom of those who have called this place home since time immemorial. We share this as a step on our journey to live in repaired relationship with Native communities near and far. Thank you. I'm first going to turn the mic over to our wonderful Mayor of Langley, Scott Chaplin, to give us a few words of welcome and insight. Scott.
Woo!
You didn't tell me I was going to have to do insight. On behalf of the citizens of Langley, I just want to welcome everyone for coming out to this parade today. I hope you come back year after year and other times if you're from out of town. I was handing out jelly beans, and these are special jelly beans. There's like popcorn and cinnamon and lemon and banana. And I don't think these jelly beans decided to make a lifestyle choice to be the flavor they are. But there's someone out there that really loves each and every one of these flavors, just like human beings. So there's someone out there for everybody. And I want to thank you all for being out here, because not only are we celebrating today, but every time you come out in a place like this or you're visible, you're saving lives. There's a young person out there that's struggling, maybe not sure, not supported at home, and this shows support. So thank you for saving lives, and thank you for celebrating this day, and welcome to Langley.
Woo!
Thank you, Mayor Scott. I'm now going to turn the microphone over to our friend Wolfgang, who is a member of the LGBT community and has some interesting personal observations to share. Wolfgang, who also helped us organize the event. He's just not wearing a yellow shirt. It's not his color.
Woo!
Good afternoon. I'm Wolfgang. My pronouns are he, him. I am a transgender man and identify as pansexual. I grew up in the 70s and early 80s and came out as gay in 1981 to my family and friends. However, in my small town in Washington, I felt isolated and afraid from all those who would hate and fear me if they knew who I really was. I searched through the card catalog at my school and public libraries for any information about people like me and found very little. Yes, card catalog, that was before computers. Then as a 15-year-old gay teen, I attempted to take my own life by swallowing a bottle of my antidepressant pills. Thankfully, my mother found me soon enough to save my life. In 1982, at the age of 16, I drove an hour to Seattle by myself to attend my first ever Gay Pride Parade and Festival. I found myself amidst thousands of colorful gay, lesbian, and gender variant people. And to say I felt euphoric to be among my own people for the first time in my life ever would be an understatement. On my way home to my small town after Pride, I ran into a store and was quickly met with fear and hate behind the eyes of so many strangers, and culture shock overtook me. For me, Pride was for many years that one day a year when I didn't have to be afraid to be me. As a teen, I was gender nonconforming in the way I dressed in boys' clothing and wore my hair. I used to joke that when I got stressed out, I cut my hair, and so my whole junior year I had a crew cut. That was before punk rock came to Washington and spiky hair was not cool yet. It wasn't until I was 42 that I heard about the term transgender. I identified with the terminology crossed over from sex assigned at birth. As I had often been called dad of the boys when my son and stepson were little, and I had somehow been given the nickname Redford in my 20s when I helped all the ladies at my work with the heavy lifting. I had been unknowingly living somewhat as a trans man all along, I just didn't know it. In my senior yearbook, I posed for an editor's photo with a suit jacket and a tie, and was told by my teacher that I looked so suave. So it was there all along, I just didn't have the terminology yet. Then when I was 47, I came to a point in my life where I was beating myself up, literally, for failing at being the woman I thought I was supposed to be. There was a particular night in July 2012, I came to a crossroads where the options for me were do or die. I felt like I would either end my life that night or I would change directions. As I sat clothed in the shower floor, beating myself up, calling myself every name in the book, I made the choice to become my authentic self. Against all the wishes of those around me, including my spouse at the time, I got up, took off my wet women's clothing, buzzed my hair down to a crew cut, threw out all the clothing products, jewelry, and other things my wife at the time had been pushing on me to make me more female, and I chose to live. A couple months later, I changed my name, started testosterone, went to a therapist, and had surgery. Some of the biggest challenges as a trans man have been in getting my work supervisors to honor and respect my gender names and pronouns, and being accepted by family and friends. My relationship with my wife ended at the time, and as I transitioned, so did my relationship with the church that we had been attending and most of our shared friends. Names and pronouns for trans people are a big deal. The hardest challenges for me have been certain family members who have given the excuse that they've known me too long to change my name and pronouns. It made them too uncomfortable. To me, this was a passive-aggressive response that tells me they don't respect me enough to trust me that I know myself better than they do. Most people have made mistakes while transitioning their language when referring to me at first, but they eventually got it right. It's the ones who outright refuse to even try that really hurts. Another challenge I've experienced has been in dating. I identify as pansexual, which means I am potentially attracted to any gender. When talking to gay men and women, however, I found that they often consider me a really butch lesbian rather than a man. I've experienced some really hurtful and offensive responses, especially by gay men. Another challenge, especially nowadays, is the fear of how I will be treated using public restrooms and locker rooms. Although there's a certain amount of anxiety initially, that's mostly gone away from me. However, with the current bills being put forth throughout our country, I feel the same fear and anxiety again rising, with the added fear of criminalization for simply being who I am. In closing, I'd like to say please vote, and please support your trans friends and family members in public when the climate seems to be becoming threatening. It makes all the difference when you purposely use our correct names and pronouns when in public, so we don't have to correct people ourselves. Thank you again, and happy Pride, everybody.
Thank you, Wolfgang. I know Wolfgang wouldn't say that he is brave by giving that speech, but I think anytime someone steps in front of a mic and delivers the words that he shared with us, that is an incredible act of bravery. Before I introduce our next speaker, I just want to say that I'm really glad to be living in a state like Washington State. We are not Florida right now, and we are not Texas, and we are not Arkansas. Which is not to say that we will never be. Right now, there are laws, as you know, across the nation that are limiting the rights of trans kids to the life-saving, gender-affirming care that they need. There are books being banned in libraries across the country that talk about our lives and our relationships. And while that's not happening right yet now on Whidbey Island here in Langley, I think we can all agree that we need to be observant, we need to stand up, and we need to speak out. And no one that I know has stood up and spoken out more than my friend, State Senator Mark Elias, who has been an incredible ally, not just for the LGBTQ community, but for all Washington citizens, and in every kind of way that says equality and diversity. So I'm very honored to present our Grand Marshal, State Senator Mark Elias.
Thank you so much, Jeff. As co-chair of the LGBTQ caucus of the state legislature, I am proud to tell you that our state legislature has designated June, and by extension this weekend in July, as Pride Month in the state of Washington.
Woo!
So it is a special honor to say, on behalf of all nearly 8 million Washingtonians, happy Pride. Happy Pride. And we are living in tough times for the LGBTQ community nationwide, but as Jeff has said, we are making great progress here in Washington. While across the nation, anti-trans legislation is being introduced in virtually every legislature and passing in too many states, here in Washington, we are actually making progress for our trans community, and we couldn't do that. There's only 8 of us in the LGBTQ caucus. We could not make this progress without incredible allies in the legislature, and we have one of our biggest allies here today, hiding under a tree in the back, Representative Dave Paul. Will you give him a big round of applause? What I love about allies like Representative Paul is when our LGBTQ caucus comes to Representative Paul and says, here's what our community needs, he doesn't say, oh, I need facts, I need an explanation. He says, how can I help? How can we get it done? And we are so fortunate as a community to have leaders like Representative Paul in districts across our state that stand with us in making progress. And what have we done in the last couple of years? We have made sure that no insurance plan can deny access to gender-affirming care that's medically necessary, so that our trans folks, our non-binary folks, our LGBTQ community gets access to the care we're paying for. We're paying those premiums, we deserve that care. And I'll tell you, there was an insurance company that was trying to deny someone care for an injury that they sustained in a softball game, and they said if you weren't LGBTQ, you wouldn't be playing softball, so that's not covered. Our bill makes that illegal in the state of Washington. Everybody's entitled to care. Whether you fall down on the pickleball field or you need gender-affirming care, we're gonna make sure that you get the care you need. This year, we especially wanted to focus on our trans youth who face tremendous pressure. And Wolfgang, thank you so much for telling your story. The sad part is it's not 1982 anymore, and too many trans youth are experiencing the same stories that Wolfgang shared with us, and we've got to change that narrative. We've discovered, and through our fact-finding, that there are too many trans youth overrepresented in our homeless youth population. So this year we passed a bill, Senate Bill 5599, to make sure that our trans youth can stay in shelter safely while they're working through gender-affirming care, reunifying with their families. And this bill has become the focus of right-wing attacks. And the right wing has intentionally manipulated and focused and disinformation on this law to lie to Washingtonians. Rather than saying we're going to help trans kids and other youth that need access to shelter, they talk about us kidnapping children. And it is just indicative of the era, of the time we're in, where we all have to be living our true identities and telling the truth and pushing back on this narrative. I saw one of your great school board members here as well. Our school boards, our city councils, folks are at the front lines of making sure that our community is safe all around the state. So in addition to voting for president and voting for legislature, you got to focus on these school board races this year, your city council races this year, to make sure our local leaders are just as supportive as our state and federal leaders are. The final thing I will say, how many people here identify as LGBTQ? Yeah. Pride is our time to celebrate. The folks who are allies, this is your time to learn about all the challenges facing our community. For our queer community, this is our time to let our hair down, relax, dance, and enjoy. So I want to give all of you permission to go to that beautiful downtown and shop at all those businesses and buy as many rounds of mocktails or cocktails you can to dance your tails off this weekend. The work begins again on Monday, but for this weekend, I want you to celebrate the essence of Pride, which is being comfortable and celebrating who we are. We don't have to think about all the heavy shit that's in the world around us for the next 48 hours. Let's focus on our joy. Let's reclaim our community spaces so that we have energy for the fights ahead. And our allies can spend this weekend on the websites learning about the challenges facing us, because that's their job. Our job is just be who we are, enjoy our lives, get rainbow tattoos, and to have fun. So on behalf of the state of Washington, have fun this weekend here in Langley, and thanks so much for inviting me. It's been such a treasure. I live just across the water. My reason for joining the legislature was to build a beautiful ferry terminal in Mukilteo, and I'm proud to say mission accomplished.
Woo!
So now we're going to build more beautiful infrastructure, maybe get some upgrades here in Clinton too, so you guys have as beautiful a terminal as us. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Jeff and the organizing committee and Wolfgang, for all of this, and happy Pride, friends.
Woo!
Not too early to declare for president. Aren't we lucky? I mean, aren't we lucky that we have legislatures like Senator Mark Elias who are there fighting for our rights? Pretty incredible. Our last speaker is a friend of mine, the person I would like to call the poet laureate of Whidbey Island. I've known Mary Elizabeth Himes from her work at Leadership Whidbey, where I was on the faculty for the last several years. She's an extraordinary artist and poet, and we have invited her here to say a few words to end our great celebration. So please welcome Mary Elizabeth Himes.
Woo!
Do you want me to hold this, or do you want
Hey everybody! I didn't quite know how I was going to show up today, or what, or why. Well, I know why. I didn't know how I was going to show up today as myself, or as somebody else, or who I thought I might be, or who I could be, or whatever. But I decided to just let it go and flow. I'm here in support of my family, my friends, my daughter-in-laws, my best friend, my friends who we've lost and gained. So this work is called Liberty. Liberty is my granddaughter, the daughter of my two daughter-in-laws. And it is the perfect title for a community and a family who works every day to make a space in their lives, and also for us, the family members who make space for them. Today I wasn't going to go on the march, on the parade, but I decided that anybody, I wanted people to see what side of the road I was on. So if you didn't know, now you know. Can you hear me?
Stay close to the mic.
Hello, my fellow Americans. Who amongst you will be the one to cast the first stone? Who amongst you will name your hypocrisy as the rock hits its mark? Are you still worried about a society that is poisoned while you pay tithes to sit in the first row? I'm asking because I have some friends here who require an affirmative answer for your actions. Because the words that leave your mouth do not match the work of your hands. And my children have been told that they can be anything they want to be. But yesterday, my daughter's wife was told that she could not be himself. So I'm here asking about the hypocrisy of the gift that you give. You know, the one that looks like progress, but it's actually a tax on life. Give me liberty, you said. I mean, it was people like you that looked like you, that prayed like you, but they didn't pretend to be nice like you. But I digress. Give me liberty and give me death, because this life of oppression I will not suffer. We will fight you on the ground that holds the blood of the owners of this land from time immemorial. The liberty that you demand as you cry, "Don't tread on me," while wearing steel-toed boots while you come to tread on me. Give me liberty. I refuse death. We and our co-conspirators will meet you in battle. Do not anticipate that we will continue Michelle's way of taking the high road. We prefer to stonewall you, to rush you down a runway and blind you with all the colors of the rainbow. We will wear our best leather and come out of closets and speak in universal tongues. There will be no conversion therapy compromise in this battle for its liberty that we are fighting for. Stolen legacies, broken treaties, corporate lies. We see you, and believe me when I tell you we have receipts. Who am I to speak on this? Well, first of all, I am me. The one who grew into a flower with the voice of a king, the body of a goddess. We were queer before you knew what we were. You named us tomboy, pansy, he, she, shame. Now we are manifested in the power of love. No longer secret. Love no longer hidden. Loving with pride, for we will not be shamed because you are not like us. We will not be hidden because our shine is too bright. This is liberty, and this is pride.
Wow, maybe? Wow. Before we close, I do want to thank our sign language interpreter, Dana. And all of our, thank you, Jill. And all of our sponsors. We couldn't have done this without the help of all the people that help us put together the funds that we needed to throw together a parade. Before we leave, I just want to echo what Senator Leah said to us. Let's have some fun this weekend, and then let's roll up our sleeves, take off our splints if we have a pickleball injury. But let's get together and continue to fight for what we deserve, what we believe in, and what we know is right. Because we're going to get there. There is light at the end of this road, and Langley is proving, and South Whidbey is proving, and Whidbey Island is proving. It's ours for the taking. So thank you for coming. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you again next year.
Good